Welcome back, students. This is a short note, and this question is describe the boundaries and contents of digastric triangle. But before I go to the digastric triangle, I will tell you about the anterior triangle and its subdivision. Now, this anterior triangle is present on anterior aspect of the neck, okay, below the base of the mandible and above the mandibulosterni or sternal notch, okay. And we will just see that what are the different subdivision of this anterior triangle. First, before that, let us see what are the boundaries of the anterior triangle. Okay, medially it is bounded in the midline, okay, by midline of the neck. Let us see, I have just produced the two diagram. One is from the side. This is the mandible, this is the condylar process or the head of the mandible, coronoid process, and then this is the mastoid process. This is the base of the mandible. This is the hide bone. And you are seeing the two muscles here, anterior belly of digastric and the posterior with a common tendon attached to the hide bone with a fibrous sling. And then this is the mandibulosterni, the body of the sternum, and this is the clavicle. Now from the sternum, mandibulosternum and clavicle, these are the two heads of the sternocleidomastoid muscle, which after taking origin is going upward and laterally to get inserted onto the undersurface of the mastoid process and then to that of the superior nuchal line. Now this anterior triangle, as I said, is bounded anteriorly in the midline of the neck, which extend from symphysis manti of the mandible to that of the mandibulosterni. So this is the anterior, which you can see in a diagram, which is from the anterior aspect, under surface of the mandible, submandibular area, as well as the anterior aspect of the neck. Now this is the ramus of the mandible. This is the base of the mandible. That means the body of the mandible. Here it becomes the angle of the mandible. Okay. So we are seeing it from below. This is the symphysis manti of the mandible. Now, then you are seeing this bone, it is the hide bone, okay, hide bone. And then below this, it is the mandibulosterni and the medial ends of the two clavicles, okay, medial end. Okay, sternoclavicular joints are seen. Now from sternum as well as from the clavicle upper surface, you are seeing sternocleidomastoid going and getting attached to the mastoid process and to the superior nuchal line. So this is the sternocleidomastoid muscle or sternomastoid in simple way. Okay, then this is the midline from symphysis manti passing through the hide bone right up to the sternal notch. Here is the midline. Okay, this is the base of the mandible. This is the base of the lower margin of the body and the ramus, which is called as the base of the mandible. This is the mastoid process. Okay. Now you can see the different muscles which are present. Okay. From the midline here, okay, which I have shown you a faint green line. Okay. So there are two anterior triangles. One on right side of this midline and another on left side, except this triangle which is on either side of the midline enclosed between the two anterior bellies of digastric is called a submental, which is common. Otherwise all other triangle are present on right as well as on to the left side. So let us come after this, just see a few more muscle. This is the posterior belly, this is the anterior belly of digastric, this is the superior belly of the omohyoid. On this side again superior belly of the omohyoid, and this muscle is the sternohyoid muscle, deep to which will be the sternothyroid, because here is this level is the thyroid cartilage is here, and below that you will see the thyroid gland also, which I have not drawn, okay, which are midline, and below that The cricoid and the trachea will be there in the midline, going just behind that of the sternum. Okay, that will be the trachea. So thyroid, cartilage, that means larynx and the thyroid gland are, and trachea is located in the midline. Now see the boundary. Now I will tell you the boundary of the anterior triangle. Medially it is bounded by the midline of the neck. See this midline? So medially it is bounded by midline of the neck. Laterally it is bounded by the anterior border of the sternomastoid muscle. This is that anterior border. So one border was here medially and this is laterally, or sometimes it is also called as posteriorly or posterolateral boundary, which is formed by the anterior margin or anterior border of the sternocleidomastoid. Superiorly, it is bounded by the base of the mandible from midline right up to this angle of the mandible, that is the base of the mandible. Okay, and here in this lateral view you can see that it doesn't stop at the angle of the mandible, but an imaginary line extending right up to the mastoid process will also form the superior boundary. So the base of the mandible and an imaginary line posterior to the angle of mandible up to the mastoid process is also the superior boundary. Okay. So thus this whole thing is the anterior triangle of this side, and this is the anterior triangle of the other side. Okay. Now this anterior triangle is subdivided into various sub-triangles. Okay. So anterior triangle is a large triangle on either side of the neck, midline of the neck, and this is divided here. One triangle, submental, is a common triangle. Okay, and this lies between the two anterior bellies of the digastric. Okay, so this triangle is small triangular area just at the floor of the the submandibular region at the floor of the mouth. Okay, so this is called as the submental triangle. And if you see quickly the boundaries of submental triangle, it is the apex here, and it is by the symphysis manti, where the right and left body of the mandible join, that is symphysis manti. Base is formed by the hide bone here, and the sides are formed by the anterior belly of the digastric, right and left anterior belly. Floor, here you can see the muscle taking origin from this median raphe. It's going on either side obliquely and will get attached onto that of the mandible. Okay, onto the inner aspect of the body of the man on the mylohyoid line. So this muscle is here, which is forming the floor, is the mylohyoid muscle of this triangle. Okay, that is the submental triangle. The roof is nothing but the skin superficial fascia, which contains the platysma, and the cutaneous nerves are here. Okay, and then it is covered by the deep cervical fascia. And if you go to the contents of submental submental triangle, then there are some lymph nodes. Okay, and small tributaries maybe of the anterior jugular vein, which is starting from here. It is beginning from this place. So submental lymph node are there. So this is the first subdivision, submental triangle, which is common between the right and left. Let us go to the second triangle here, which lies below the hyoid bone. Okay, and in the midline will lie the thyroid gland, trachea, and larynx. Okay, and larynx are there. Now these muscles which are there in this muscular triangle, it is called as muscular triangle. Okay, they are the muscles which are the infrahyoid group of the muscle. They are classified as infrahyoid group. So let us see the muscular triangle on one side. Now the posteriorly here, posteriorly and superiorly, it is the superior belly of the homohyoid bounding to the muscular triangle, and posto-inferiorly, this is again the anterior border of the sternocleidomastoid, and anteriorly or in midline, it is the midline here, midline extending from the hyoid bone to the sternum, Okay, so this triangle is the muscular triangle, and if you will go to the contents, then you will see that in the contents I have told you that these are the infrahyoid group of the muscles. Okay. And the floor of course is formed by the pretracheal fascia, because trachea is here, then the thyroid gland is here, and that of the larynx is here. Laryngeal cartilage can be seen. Laryngeal prominence is seen in the midline. So the floor is formed by the pretracheal fascia. The roof is formed by the skin, of course, superficial fascia, and deep cervical fascia. And content I have shown the infrahyoid group of muscle, sternohyoid, thyroid, and sternothyroid muscle. Okay, and thyroid glands and thyroid cartilage. Now in the content you will see that only this muscle is seen, and that is the sternohyoid, because the sternothyroid and sternothyroid and thyroid muscles are deep to that of the sternohyoid muscle. Okay, So in very briefly I have just described the submental, and this was the second triangle, the muscular triangle. Let us go to the digastric triangle, which I will describe in little more detail. Okay, and in the next video we will go to the carotid triangle. So now I am coming on to the digastric triangle. What is digastric triangle? Okay, we have seen the digastric triangle. This is located between the base of mandible and the two bellies, anterior and posterior belly of digastric. Let us use this both the diagram. This is anterior belly and this is the posterior, as we are seeing in from the side. So the base is formed by the upper boundary. Upper boundary means it is the base. It is by the mandible, base of the mandible. This is located between the base of the mandible and bounded below by the anterior and the posterior belly of the digastric. Let us see the boundaries, okay, of this. And digastric triangle, in this view it is seen. This is the anterior belly, hyoid bone, sling, and then this is the intermediate tendon between two bellies, and this is the posterior belly, and this is the base of the mandible. Okay, the body and the ramus. Okay, lower border of the, and this area is not see where I have given is the digastric triangle. Let us see the boundary of this digastric triangle. Superiorly it is the base. Okay, let me use the other diagram so that I will be able to show you the floor also. Okay, so superiorly it is the base of the mandible going right up to, with an imaginary line, up to the mastoid process. Okay, and antero-inferiorly, this is anterior and inferior, anterior belly of the digastric muscle, and postero-inferior, it is the posterior belly of the digastric. So postero-inferior, antero-inferior, and here the superior boundary. Thus this is the area of the digastric triangle. Okay, floor, this is the muscle shown for the floor. This muscle we have already seen in the submental triangle, extending in digastric also. So it is the mylohyoid muscle. Okay, so it is the posterior belly of digastric, anterior belly, okay, of digastric. And this is the mylohyoid in the floor, mylohyoid muscle in the floor. Okay, then this muscle is the hyoglossus muscle, and here it is the middle constrictor, more posteriorly. Middle constrictor muscle is here. So three muscles, they form the floor. Anteriorly mylohyoid, then hyoglossus, and a small part of the middle constrictor muscle of the pharynx. That means pharynx has come here. Okay, then the roof I have already told you, skin, superficial fascia in which platysma is there, some cutaneous now may be there, and covered by the deep cervical fascia, that means deepest. That is the roof of the digastric triangle. I hope that you have followed the digastric triangle. Okay, now this mylohyoid muscle is seen, which was beginning from here. Okay, this is here, and here will be the hyoglossus muscle, and still deeper will be that of the middle const that forms the floor of the, okay, right. So this is digastric triangle. Now this digastric triangle has important contents, okay, which I have not shown you here, just because I wanted to show you the floor. Contents are from anterior to posterior side, okay, facial artery and vein. See this here, here will go the facial artery towards the angle of mouth, so it will wind round from the base of the mandible or the lower margin of the body of the mandible, then it will go upward. So facial artery, and posterior to it will come down will be the facial vein. So artery and vein are there, okay, which will go then into the digastric triangle, where they will just grow the gland, that is the submandibular gland. Salivary gland is located here. Submandibular salivary gland is there, and then submandibular group of lymph nodes are also there. They are on the surface of the gland itself. They are submandibular salivary gland, I am say lymph node. Okay, then in the posterior part, okay, just posterior part means in front of the mastoid process and the upper border of the digastric belly. Here this diagram will show you. In this posterior part, okay, where the upper margin of the digastric and posterior to the ramus of the mandible, here are the gland, or I will say there is a parotid gland, that is the region just above the posterior belly of digastric will be the, here will be the parotid gland, is also the content of the digastric triangle. And then the external and internal carotid arteries. Okay, we have seen that the carotid artery means the common carotid divides into the external and internal carotid artery in this carotid triangle, and then the external, they go deep to the posterior belly and will lie here. External will lie within the substance of the parotid gland, external carotid, and will divide here in terminal branches just posterior to the neck of the mandible into the maxillary and superficial temporal. So these arteries are also the contents of the digastric triangle. Which arteries? External and internal carotid artery, and in between the vein and that is the internal jugular vein and the internal carotid artery, there will be the vagus nerve, okay, vagus within the carotid sheath, of course, and stylohyoid muscle will run just on the superior margin of the digastric posterior belly, that is the stylohyoid muscle. So many contents are there in the digastric triangle, but most important content of this is that of the gland, that is the submandibular gland and submandibular group of the lymph node, facial artery and the facial vein, and the internal and external carotid arteries along with the vagus nerve also. Okay, so this is the digastric triangle. Okay, thank you very much for watching this short video on digastric triangle.